You're not for or against the caucus plan?
There is a plan that I know of.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're talking about putting.
It's at the rules committee.
And they have a plan?
Yeah. Well, they don't have the states picked yet, but
right, but they,
Michigan wants
one or two caucuses.
This is all talk. I mean, nothing.
Well, very high elevated.
This is very premature until something is actually proposed. And my view is, Iowa's important and New Hampshire's important. Iowa's a caucus, New Hampshire's a primary. I think the New Hampshire primary is going to get huge attention, and as it always does, because of historical importance in the nominating process. And I think that's a good thing. I've always thought that's a good thing. And I think I don't want to react to something when I don't know yet what they're going to do.
To go back to something you mentioned earlier, you talked about you're not in Washington anymore and how that's a good thing. Can you just expand on how, being on this side of the debate has made it easier to get your message out, or have you seen progress in moving towards solving these problems?
It's very different because instead of being tied down in the day-to-day squabbles in Washington and talking to politicians, you can actually move around the country and listen to the very things that I heard here today and what I heard earlier at Page Belton, which I'm doing many days a week, every week. I feel like it gives you a better sense of what's happening in the country. There's a huge freedom associated with it. It allows me to focus on the things that I care the most about, poverty and health care, et cetera. And so honestly, I love what I'm doing now.
Senator, you spoke about your change of mind about the Iraq situation.
Yes.
I'm wondering if you could expand on that a little bit. I mean, just in the context of now and looking ahead, where you think the country, what the country should be thinking about
Iraq.
In terms of Iraq. Yeah.
Well, I think there's a basic judgment, and just to make sure everyone knows what you're asking about, I have said in a piece I wrote in the Washington Post months ago that my vote on Iraq was wrong, and basic reason for that is because it was based on the theory they had weapons of mass destruction, which they didn't. I'm not the only one who did that, but I take full responsibility for what I did. But I also thought that this president would actually conduct the war and the aftermath of the war in a competent way. I've never seen such incompetence. It's the grossest incompetence in governing, and not just in Iraq. The response to the hurricane, trying to implement the prescription drug bill. I mean, it is extraordinary incompetence in this administration's running of this country. And the American people are paying a huge, huge price for it. As to what we do now, what I think is our presence in the size that we have now, our troop size, is too big. I think it sends the wrong signal. It sends a signal that we're going to be there forever, that we're trying to do this for them, that we're there for oil. I think we have to change that dynamic and change it dramatically. What I've been saying for months, reduce our troop level by at least 40 to 50,000. Make it clear that the Iraqis are going to have to do this for themselves. We're not going to do it for them. They have to decide whether they want to have a representative government. They have to decide whether they're going to train their own people to provide their own security. And they're going to have to step to the plate. They're either going to be successful or not, based on what they do, not based on what we do.
Do you think the president deliberately misled the American public to get us into this war?
I think the president said things that are clearly false, yes.
Senator, do you think that the sort of drastic way that opinion turned against the war and support for the president fell after the 2004 election will give Democrats in general a boost and perhaps cause people to reconsider the choice they made with the nominees in 2004 and perhaps give either of those two nominees another look this time around?
Oh, I don't know about the last part. I think the president's conduct of the war in Iraq, combined with the scandals and the incompetence in governing that I just spoke about, I think the Republicans will pay a price for that in November. And I expect the Democrats, without making specific predictions, I expect us to do very well in the congressional race.
In 06. What about heading into 08, or do you think it's too early to say?
Well, I think we're a long way away, but things change very quickly. But I think right now there's a very clear trend that the American people don't trust George Bush and don't trust the Republican leadership. And the key for us, for my party, is to lay out a positive agenda. so that the country can see what they've done and what it is we will do. It's not enough to just talk about what's wrong with them. We have to lay out a positive set of ideas about how we're going to make it better.
Can Hillary Clinton unite America?
Oh, I think that whoever the Democratic nominee is has a chance of uniting America.
So what's it going to take for us to get you back here running again?
Are you trying?
Well, I'm asking.
The first thing for me is to make sure Elizabeth gets one. I mean, she's doing great now, and we, knock on wood, we feel very good about that. But she has to, for my family's sake, she has to be well.
Where is she in her treatment?
She's finished her treatment last summer, and we had some tests done before Christmas, and they were all good. So right now it looks very good. And I love this work that I'm doing now. I just have to decide, not too far away, what is someone do?
Any idea how late you could leave it? I mean, is there any sort of?
I don't have a time in my head. Is that what you mean?
Well, I mean, you had the experience of going through this before, so you must know that there's certain timelines that you need to meet, or it's just too late.
Yeah.
Anything on the calendar?
I would think anybody's going to run for president has to do something in 2007. But when in 2007, I think there's a lot of flexibility about it.
Thanks, everybody.
That's an immigration debate. Where are you on that?
I think we should do two things. I supported the McCain-Kennedy legislation. I think the two things we have to do are we can't sustain what's happening on our southern border. We cannot. It's out of control. And that means more people, more personnel, more better technology, which McCain-Kennedy actually provided for. And then the second part of that is I think we ought to reward work and responsibility for those 10 or 11 million people who are here and undocumented by allowing them to recognize what they did wrong, pay a fine, require that they learn to speak English, and allow them to get on a path to earn citizenship. I don't think we should have second-class citizens.
Thank you.
Sure.
How are the little guys?
They're great. They're doing great. Thanks for asking.
What are you going to talk about at the meeting hall tonight? What's the overall theme?
A little bit about the Democratic Party and a lot about poverty.
Okay.
You heard some of it today. Great to see you all.
Again.
Thanks for having me. Great to see you.
Guess what she said.
Tape recorder?
Oh, that's me.
Okay.
Thanks for coming.